Oh, welcome back. Former President Donald Trump's quest for outside supervision, or as he called it, a special master, of the DOJ's investigation into sensitive White House records seized at his Mar-a-Lago estate is over after he failed to challenge an appeals court ruling rejecting such oversight. The decision by the three-judge panel is a win for federal prosecutors, clearing the way for them to use the documents seized during the FBI's search of Mar-a-Lago on August 8th. So the question remains, what does all of this mean for former President Trump? And who better to ask than host of Dick Morris Democracy right here on Newsmax and author of the best-selling book, The Return: Trump's Big 2024 Comeback, our very own Dick Morris. Dick, great to see you this Saturday afternoon. And now that this appeal is over, what will Donald Trump have to do moving forward?
Well, in a sense, the story is really already written. There are no surprises coming. The grounds that they're investigating are so narrow and so basically inconsequential. But because they're narrow, the letter of the law is clear, and probably he'll be prosecuted. They're after him because he incited a riot on January 6th, when it's clear he called for 20,000 troops to be there, and he urged people to go home and go to bed. Secondly, they're saying that he took sensitive documents from Mar-a-Lago. He might have. He may have taken some ashtrays, too, for souvenirs. But there's no indication by anybody that he misused classified material, that he gave it to our enemies. And finally, they're saying he called the Secretary of State of Georgia and said, "Can you find another 11,000 votes for me?" Which is fine. He was telling him to do his job and count the ballots accurately. So, but in each of them, there's a technical violation of law. So maybe he littered too, and maybe he jaywalked. And I think we have to anticipate that they will prosecute Trump. And it's usually going to be in front of a Washington, D.C. grand jury or jury. But I don't think that a conviction for any of this stuff will really hurt him. In fact, I think it'll tend to solidify his support, because Republicans are weary of this ongoing, continuous investigation of every aspect of his life that clearly is not motivated by the severity of the crime, but by desire to knock him out of the presidential race. As that becomes clearer to Republicans, I think they're going to rebel, and they're going to say, "I'm going to vote for Trump because of this." So I think it'll be all right.
And Dick, do you think that any of these things that continue to plague the former president could negatively impact his campaign in 2024 as he runs again for the White House? You're saying you actually think it could help him.
Yeah, I am. I think the main impediment for him right now is to win the Republican primary. And I think Republican voters are going to say, this is so obviously a witch hunt. It's so obviously contrived. If they go after him and prosecute him, the grounds are so obviously picayune, petty, and just designed to knock him out of the presidential race. People are going to say, we are not prepared to delegate the selection of President of the United States to a 12-person grand jury from Washington, D.C. We're going to overlook that and pay attention to the substance of the issues and things facing this country. And I think Trump will come through very strong.
And Dick, speaking of the former president, we also heard that he has recommended one book. That's it. This year as a gift. And it just happens to be, gosh, I wonder, The Return by Dick Morris. It's top bestseller list. So why do you think The Return is so important for not just the former president, but also for the GOP?
Well, first of all, it's already in red, so you don't got to wrap it.
There you go.
But more importantly, we've just lost a series of elections because they failed to read chapter 1 of the book. I sold 100,000 copies, but not to any of those guys. And they've got to, the chapter 1 says, the main thing is we are operating under new rules of how to vote on election day. Don't just show up in person. Come in early voting. Don't just cast your ballots, mail them in. And go around door to door collecting ballots from people outside your church. And it makes the point that there are new rules the Democrats put into effect. I don't much like them. Most people don't much like them, but they're there. And the Democrats are winning elections because they are following it, and we are not. Herschel Walker went into Georgia losing by 250,000 votes on election day from early voting. Oz was losing by 600,000 before early voting, because of early voting. And Republicans can vote early too. And what we have to do is take the techniques the Democrats have pioneered and beat them at their own game.